Hello everyone and welcome back to Beatley Tone's Beatles channel. Lovely to have you here. Thanks for joining me for this video and I hope you're all doing well. Now in today's video I'm going to be going back to 2018 and taking a deep dive into this beautiful box set, the John Lennon Imagine Ultimate Mixes. I know what you're thinking, it's all been done before. And yes, you're right, it has all been done before, but I didn't have a channel when this came out and I want to kind of cover everything. And if you go through YouTube and look for videos on this, you'll find loads and loads of people unboxing this album, but not that many doing a little analysis of the outtakes and demos and all the extra material that we get. So that's what I'm going to try and do in this video. So my history with the Imagine album goes back to 1976 when I first got this copy here. Absolutely loved the album. It was all part of my Beatles discovery. I'll show you it. It came with just a plain inner sleeve. I had no photo wheel or lyrics wheel. It was just this one-sided cutout. I did get the postcard, but only one of them, and the poster is long gone. The poster was glued up on my bedroom wall when I lived with my parents, and that has long gone. It's been replaced by, you know, newer and better copies since then. The one on the right behind me is the remixed version, the 2 LP version of the thing we're gonna review. So one of the strange things about this box set is normally when we get a box set of this magnitude, it's usually to commemorate some sort of anniversary, a 50th anniversary of original release or a birthday or something like that. But this kind of came out of the blue. It didn't really have a specific reason to be released. It wasn't a significant anniversary of the album. It wasn't John's birthday, although it almost was. I think this came out on the 5th of October 2018, so it didn't really have a reason. It wasn't even his first solo album, so it was kind of, we're going to pick a random album and let's do a magnificent box set of it. So what I wanted to say about this release, because it was the first of what we hope will be a complete series like this, was that if I take you back to 1981, just after John died, I can remember Yoko coming out and saying that she intended to keep John Lennon's name alive for future generations so they knew who he was and what he did, and she would be giving the fans stuff that they really want and will treasure. To be fair, she has absolutely stuck to her word. Yeah, I know we've had a few pointless compilation albums that have had the same songs on it, but you know, throughout the years she has given us so much great stuff. You know, it kind of started off with a little taste of the Men Love Avenue album, then we got the Live in New York concert. You know, the jewel in the crown was the Lennon anthology, the 4 CD set, and we've had things like the acoustic album and the home tapes as well. So, you know, she absolutely stuck with her word and she gave us everything that she promised. And this box set, which Yoko is credited as being the sort of the creative producer, she is all over this, and this really is the benchmark to which all box sets need to be judged, I feel. I think that as beautiful as the Paul McCartney archive collection is, and all the, you know, all the extra things that we get with it, we don't get the level of musical content that the John Lennon box sets do. And I really think that we have got a lot to thank Yoko for this format, because it is just brilliant. So let's have a quick look at what you get in the box. It comes in this sort of 10-inch sturdy slipcase. It kind of looks like that from the side, and on the spine it looks like that. Inside we get this beautiful hardback book, which I'll split up the talk about the music and show you some bits from the book. If you haven't seen it, I'll do that halfway through to break it up. The other part of the package is this wallet that contains the CDs and the Blu-ray. It's nothing spectacular. It just does what it's supposed to do and holds the discs. On the back of the wallet, you get the track listing. I'll show it as close as I can and get it all in. And if you want to look and see what's on that, you can pause the video. Now, one thing you don't get in this box set is the poster and the postcards, but you do get pictures of them in the book. Now, there is a lot to get through, and this is probably going to be quite a long video, but what I'm not going to do in this video is go back to the original 10-track album and go through track by track and analyse it all, because I've already done that. A few months ago, I did a little mini-series, a 2-video mini-series that I called The Battle of 1971, where I pitched Ram against Imagine and did a track-by-track analysis and gave each song a score out of 10 to kind of determine which was the better album. So if you haven't seen that video and you want to watch it, there'll be a link down in the description, or if you want to carry on watching this video, at the end of the video there'll be an end card that'll come up. You can just click on it and you can watch the Imagine episode. What I do want to say about the main album is that the sound quality is just absolutely pristine. It is fantastic. You will not hear the Imagine album in better shape than it is on this package. Now, as you probably know, the album was remixed by Paul Hicks, and what they did with this album was they went right back to the analog master tapes, and even where during the original recording where they bounced down tracks, they unraveled those bounce down tracks, so every single track was mixed individually, and what you get from that is a real first generation sound recording, no degradation whatsoever, and it really is quite superb. For example, things like the strings, which were recorded in New York rather than Ascot, were originally mixed in mono, but here they're mixed properly in stereo, and therefore you get much greater clarity on them. John Lennon's vocals just really are brought to the fore. You know, he traditionally didn't like his voice, and he liked to have his voice buried deeper in the mix. Here they're right out front, they really jump out at you. The strumming on acoustic guitars is much brighter. You can really hear what an excellent yet underrated bass player Klaus Voormann was. Absolutely superb bass playing on this album. And Alan White, who sadly died this week, his kick drum in the original mix is kind of buried a little bit. Here it's more punchier, you can really hear it. A great example of trying to hear what Alan White does is on the track Oh Yoko. If you go to that and have a listen to what he does, it's fantastic. So, you know, and another thing is that one of Phil Spector's things was that he liked to record instruments with reverb on them at source, which was one of the issues that Paul Hicks came up against when he tried to do the remixes for the All Things Must Pass 50th anniversary. But John and Yoko wouldn't let him do that, so the reverb had to go on afterwards. So that meant that when Paul Hicks came to remix this, he was able to add and subtract reverb where he felt appropriate. I mean, all in all, it does stay very faithful to the original album, but I think if I was trying to sort of sum it up in, you know, a couple of sentences, I would say that you get to hear more of the music and less of the production, and everything just sounds so much more clearer and crisper, and in a word, better. So CD1 has an additional 6 tracks apart from the 10 tracks that we know from the Imagine album, and I'll go through those for you briefly. So there was Power to the People, obviously remixed by Paul Hicks. Then we had Well Baby Please Don't Go, which was a song that they did before all the other musicians arrived at Ascot for the main sessions. There were some earlier sessions that involved Jim Gordon on drums and Klaus and John and Bobby Keys on sax, and they worked on It's So Hard and I Don't Want to Be a Soldier and Well Baby Please Don't Go. So we get a version of that, which again is remixed by Paul Hicks. Then we get God Save Us, which was the song that John was asked to do by the Oz Underground newspaper magazine. It was going through an obscenity trial where editors had been thrown in prison and they were trying to get money raised for their court case. Now, John couldn't release a single with his vocals on it and because of contractual issues with Apple. So he recorded a demo for it with his vocal on it, and that is God Save Oz. Then we get God Save Us, which is the same musical track, but with an overdubbed vocal from a guy called Bill Elliott, who later went on to record with Splinter, who were on George's Dark Horse label. And John chose him because he thought that he sounded a bit like Paul McCartney, and he thought, well, that's a nice, commercial sounding voice. We should sell lots of copies and raise lots of money. But when Bill Elliott did his vocal, he kind of copied John's demo. So he ends up sounding more like John than he does of Paul. The fifth additional track is Do the Oz, which is, I love Do the Oz. I mean, it's just a nothing song. It's a riff with some sax, and basically the lyrics are pretty much like the Okie Kokie, which is a traditional British song. I'm not sure if anyone outside of the UK knows the Okie Kokie, but everyone in the UK will know that. And it's got bits of Yoko screaming here and there. And you know what? I'm not a big fan of Yoko screaming, but on this track, it kind of fits. It's kind of in the background and it does kind of fit. And I do really like this song. And finally, we get a remixed version of Happy Christmas, War Is Over. So that is disc 1. So let's dive into CD 2. CD 2 starts off with 4 tracks which are known as element mixes. And what they mean by element mixes is that they take different elements of the song and just put them on a track. So they strip everything else away, just leaving the bare bones. So we get the strings only from Imagine, just piano, bass and drums from Jealous Guy, a vocal only version of Oh My Love. So it's just John's double tracked vocal without any instrumentation at all. And wow, it sends shivers down his spine. I mean, his voice is just so perfect. It really does give you goosebumps. And the final elements mix is the song How, where it's just the strings. Now, the elements mixes on this don't really do anything for me apart from the Oh My Love. I think they do this much better on the Plastic Ono Band box set, where they, for all the element mixes, they still do the element thing, but they include the vocals, and it means so much more when the vocals are included. But I think with this box set, they're feeling their way on the format. They haven't quite got it right on Imagine, but by the time they get to Plastic Ono Band, they've got it bang on. So that's the element mixes. So still on CD 2, following on from the element mixes, we then get an outtake of all the songs on the Imagine album and a few of the extra songs from 1971. So it kicks off with the demo for Imagine. It's just John on his piano, but the song is fully formed. All the lyrics are there. The piano's all there. I don't think it's the first demo that he recorded that day, because his voice goes in, a couple of places. He sounds a little bit throaty. Then we get take 1 of imagine with the band. So with Nicky Hopkins on keyboards and Klaus Voormann and Alan White on drums. And that's quite a nice version, but you can tell that, you know, they're just feeling their way around it. Then we get take 3 of Crippled Inside, which is a much more sort of buskier version than the finished version, and dare I say, a little bit more country. And then we get another version of Crippled Inside, which was take 6, which was actually the master, but we have a different dobro solo from George Harrison on this version, and very nice it is too. Next up is take 9 of Jealous Guy, and we get about half the song of this, but the notable thing about this is that it features acoustic guitar from Joey Molland and Tom Evans from Badfinger quite prominently, and those guitars didn't appear on the master. They were edited out, so they're not on the final version of Jealous Guy. We then get take 6 of It's So Hard, which again is a nice version, hardly any echo on it at all. This is before the sax was put on. They recorded that in New York with King Curtis. It's also notable because there's a little guitar solo from John on this version that wasn't on the final version. We then get a really early version of I Don't Want to Be a Soldier. It feels a little bit more reggae, and it was recorded roughly the same time as It's So Hard. So it's got John on guitar, Jim Gordon on drums, Klaus on bass, and Bobby Keys on sax. And the more you hear I Don't Want to Be a Soldier on this album, I feel, the more I like it. I think it's always been my least favourite song on the album. There's some nice versions on this box set, and I've grown to like it a lot more since I've heard these versions. Then we get an early version of Give Me Some Truth. This is take 4. There's just John and Alan White and Klaus playing on this. There's no reverb or anything. It's really just a guide vocal, but it still sounds, quite angry. And you kind of still get a flavour of what the song is gonna be. We then get take 6 of Oh My Love, and that's a nice gentle version with George and John and Klaus and Nicky Hopkins, and you can hear the sort of vulnerability in John's vocal, and it's really lovely. Then we get take 1 and take 2 of How Do You Sleep. So it's 2 separate takes, but they're edited together to make one track, and it's a really good version. It's got a really good live feel to it, and quite interesting because at the end of each line of the verses he does the note twice the length of how it actually ended up on the record, and obviously something that he changed his mind about later, or Phil Spector changed his mind for him, but I think it is better as it ended up finally on the record. But it's interesting to hear this early take, and it's funky and it's chunky. It's funky but chunky. So we then get take 31 of the song How, and that is pretty close to the last version, which was take 40. There's no strings, but it's fully formed and sounds great. And then we get a 1969 demo of Oh Yoko, which was recorded in the Bahamas. It was recorded by a cameraman. They were planning to do Bed-In 2 in the Bahamas, but they aborted that project. But they did record this demo for Oh Yoko. It goes on a little bit. It's about 5 minutes long. It goes round a couple of times. He also inserts a little bit of what was probably the beginnings of I Want You, She's So Heavy in the middle of it, and also What Bopaloo Bop, Bop 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 Bopaloo Bop. Whatever it's called, that Little Richard song, that Wopalopalopalopper, that one, you know the one I mean. We then get an early version of Power to the People. Take 7 this is, and I really like this. I think I might like this better than the final version because it doesn't have all the chanting and the clapping on it and the choir, and it starts off with some sax, and I really like this version. It's lively. We then get the original acoustic demo of God Save Us, just John on acoustic guitar and a guy called Steve Brendel on congas. Clearly a guy that's never played congas before in his life, and a song that's probably most notable for the lyric, "Pick your nose and eat it too." We then get take 3 of Do the Oz, and this has a guy called Michael Ramsden on lead vocals, and it's almost a 7-minute version. And again, you know, I like a bit of Do the Oz. Well, I like this one as well. And then we get a really nice alternative mix of Happy Christmas War Is Over, which is just a kind of an acoustic run through. Yoko sings the chorus solo, and then they both sing the War Is Over bit together at the end, and it's just a really nice unspectorized version. And that's CD too. Right, shall we have a little rummage through the book? This will be a very quick rummage because there are about a squillion unboxing videos out there that go through all this, and I'm sure you've seen it all before. So here's the original album art, front and back cover, a little essay about the recording of Imagine, and here we get the picture of the inner sleeve that had the credits spiral on one side and the lyrics spiral on the other, and here at last we get all the credits written on a flat piece of paper so you can actually read them. What a ridiculous idea that was, to put that in a spiral. Nice little picture of George and Klaus with John and Yoko sitting around the table in the kitchen having a cuppa and a bit of a chinwag. And there's the other side of the inner sleeve, the lyrics, and the lyrics there on the side written flat. The poster that comes with the album and the postcards. Nice picture there of Tittenhurst Park, and this is a fun thing. This is a review of the album that John wrote for Crawdaddy. It's quite interesting to read, and then you get a few pages dedicated to each song on the album, plus the 6 extra tracks that are tacked on the end. Quotes from John and Yoko, and sometimes from musicians that were on the album. The usual tape boxes that we're used to seeing. And I wanted to say something about this. I don't want to be a soldier, mama. I don't want to die. Now, on my first copy of the album, on the label, it's called I Don't Want to Be a Soldier. That's it. It's funny how the name's changed over the years. I don't mind wanna. It's somewhat more rock and roll, I suppose. Nice picture of George there working on Oh My Love. And towards the back of the book you get a little bit of detail, well not a little bit, a lot of detail about each of the mixes, who played on what and what they played. This is a map of the 5.1 surround sound mix, which is quite interesting. So each musician gets a number and it tells you what they played, and then on the map you can see where they are in the sound stage. And 5.1 is brilliant for watching TV and movies. For music, it's interesting, but not exactly what I would go to listen to music, really. To be absolutely honest, I prefer to hear music in stereo, because this is you here on the map, so you're right in the middle, so you've got musicians, you know, behind you and to the side of you, which is just not natural. You kind of want them in front of you. So you've got a little bit about all the mixes, the quadrasonic mix there, or quadraphonic mix. There's the box of the 8-track quadraphonic album, the element mixes. So, you know, pretty much everything you need to know about the Imagine album is in this book. So let's just leave it there. And let's get on with the music. Outtakes are a funny old beast, aren't they? We seem to be obsessed with outtakes. As soon as a new box set is announced, and we've had lots of them over the last few years, you know, the first thing you want to know is what outtakes are on there, what is the extra material. And this is bootleg culture, basically. But when you actually think about it, what outtakes are songs going wrong. They're outtakes for a reason. The reason that they're outtakes is they're not as good as the versions that actually went on the album. So why we crave this inferior product, I'm not quite sure. But like I say, it's bootleg culture. I mean, the thing about the outtakes is that they're interesting to listen to, and it's kind of a journey of the song. So when we get to CD 3, this is my favourite disc of all 4 discs that are in this box set. What we get here is the raw studio mix. They call them the raw studio mixes extended, and these are the takes that actually ended up on the record, the finished version. But it's before the, you know, all the jiggery pokery. There's no reverb on it, there's no studio trickery in there, and Phil Spector used much more on this album than he did on Plastic Ono Band. He had a much freer reign with the studio jiggery pokery. So there's no strings, there's no sax, there's no echo. It is just the band playing live, but it's the take that they actually used on the album, and then they did the overdubs and all the rest of it on top of it. So this is my favourite. Now what Paul Hicks has done with these, he's worked some sort of magic on it that has added some sort of separation between each of the musicians, and the consequence of that is you get absolutely superb sound quality on this disc, and you can hear everything that everyone is doing, and that's why I love it so much. So they also call these raw studio mixes extended mixes, and some of them are just extended because they've got a bit of chat at the start and at the end of the song, but some of them are truly extended. For example, I Don't Want to Be a Soldier, take 4, which was the take that was used on the album. This is the extended version that clocks in at about 8 minutes. Give Me Some Truth is also extended, probably only by about 40 seconds or something like that. And How Do You Sleep is extended to 6 minutes on the take that they used for the album. Now, additionally, and somewhat confusingly, they then add to the 10 tracks that we get a raw studio mix. We then get some of the outtakes that were on disc 2 extended. For example, remember I said that they did an edit of How Do You Sleep take 1 and take 2 on disc 2. Well, here you get take 1, it's in its entirety, and it's an 8-minute version. You get another outtake of How Do You Sleep, and this is an edit of takes 5 and 6, which doesn't appear on CD 2, and that's an additional 7-minute edit. So there's loads of great material on here. Oh Yoko, for example, they did in one take, just one take of that song, but you get a version here with an alternative vocal because John overdubbed the vocals, but the master tape was done in one take, and that's what's on this disc 3. I'm not going to go through every track, but this is my favourite disc just because you can just hear everything. There's none of the extra 6 songs on this disc, so it's purely the songs from the Imagine album. So disc 3 is absolutely fantastic. It is my favourite disc, and I'll just leave it there, I think. So we finally arrived at CD 4, the last of the CD discs in this set, and CD 4 is the evolution mixes. And what they mean by evolution mixes is the gradual process of the recording of the song. There's snippets of conversation in there, so you kind of get them discussing, you know, John and Yoko discussing ideas, suggestions, instructing the musicians, things like in the Imagine Evolution mix where you hear John saying to Nicky Hopkins, come on, I'll teach you how to play it, sort of thing. And so it's an interesting listen. You know, you can hear that some of the songs started off very differently to how they ended up. We don't go from start to finish, but we do hear the songs right from the beginning in some cases, and some later takes, and they're snippets, but they stop and start and stop and start and stop and start. So it's not like an easy listen, and maybe there's a limit to how many times you might listen to these, but they are certainly interesting to listen to and worth their place in this box set. Most of the bits that are included in each Evolution mix is taken from the Gimme Some Truth documentary. Brilliant documentary. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's really worth seeing. I'm not going to go through every track because we'll be here all day, and it's quite hard to describe, you know, the evolution of a song. You have to kind of listen to it to really, you know, grasp what's going on. But they are interesting nonetheless. So that's CD4, and I think that's all I'm going to say about the Evolution mixes. So moving on to the Blu-rays, and I do want to talk about those a little bit. I'm not going to go into too much detail. So although this is a Blu-ray, I think I should point out there is no video on these Blu-rays at all. It's all just audio. So you get two Blu-rays. Now, the thing about the Blu-rays is, as well as having a 5.1 mix, you've also got high-res audio files. So these files are at the 2496 bit rate and resolution, which is higher quality than CD quality. So if you've got a Blu-ray player attached to your hi-fi, you're better off playing them on the Blu-rays because you hear it in better quality. You know, obviously you will need an AV amp to process this properly. If you've just got your Blu-ray plugged into your telly, then you're not really going to hear the benefit of the higher resolution. Now, as I said before, 5.1 is interesting to listen to if you've got a 5.1 system. I have got that, and as I say, it's an interesting way to listen to the album, but it wouldn't be my preferred way because it's just a little bit too weird for me. I prefer to hear it in stereo. Now, the extra thing that you get on Blu-ray 1 is the quadraphonic mix, or quadrasonic mix, as it was marketed back in the day, which if you have got 4 speakers attached to your hi-fi, you can hear this in quad. But really, quad, now that we've got 5.1, quad is an outmoded format, so you'll probably listen to it once to hear how it sounds, but you probably won't take it any further than that. Blu-ray disc 2 is more interesting because they've got extra tracks on it. Now, it's very confusing. I had to actually, I don't know if you can see this, but I had to actually tick back what was on the CDs compared with what's on the Blu-rays to work out what the extra tracks were. It is a little bit confusing, so excuse me if I read them from the box because I can't remember them off by heart, not at my age. Anyway, so the extra tracks you get, so you know that, remember on disc 3 we had the raw studio mixes and we had some of the outtakes in that raw studio mix format. Where you get a few more on Blu-ray 2. You get Crippled Inside Take 2 and Crippled Inside Take 6 with the alternate guitar solo. You also get Take 7 to 10 of How, and with an alternate vocal from John, and Oyoko with Take 1 tracking vocal. Now, with the element mixes, you also get some extra element mixes. Crippled Inside which is just upright bass played by Klaus Voormann and drums. I Don't Want to Be a Soldier Mama, that's guitar, bass and drums. Give Me Some Truth, which is electric piano and guitar. How'd You Sleep, strings only, and Oh Yoko, acoustic. So that's what you get from the extra element mixes. Now on the Evolution mixes, you get as extra tracks the Evolution mixes for the 6 extra tracks that aren't on the album that are covered on this box set. So that's Power to the People, Well Baby Please Don't Go, God Save Us, God Save Oz, Do the Oz, and Happy Christmas, War Is Over. You also get a track called Tittenhurst Park, which is the musicians just playing around and lots of chat and stuff like that. And then you also get an interview with Elliot Mintz from 1971. Transcript of that is in the book of Imagine, and that's all the extra stuff that you get on the Blu-rays. So all in all, the Imagine Ultimate Mixes box set, in my opinion, is a fantastic box set. You know, I said earlier that, you know, it should be the benchmark by which all box sets are judged. Having now been through it in such great detail, I realised that how much better the organisation of the John Lennon Plastic Ono Band box set was. I thought they were pretty much on a par, but they were feeling their way on this one, and by the time they got to Plastic Ono Band, they got it absolutely spot on. My little gripes about the Imagine box set, and they are very little gripes, is that I'm not keen on the way that they kind of mix different types of takes together. Like, I don't like the fact that the elements mixes, you only get 4 elements mixes on CD2, and then it kind of goes into outtakes on the same disc. I'd rather they put all the element mixes together and put them with the vocals. They would have meant much more with the vocals, and that's what they did on Plastic Ono Band. They put the vocals in there as well, but still taking little elements of the song. My other gripe is I don't like the fact that there are so many musical bits on the Blu-rays that aren't on the CDs, because it means that it's great if you've got a Blu-ray player attached to your hi-fi, you can listen to this stuff in high resolution audio, which is great. But it means you can't put it on your phone or play it in your car. In other words, you can only listen to it on your Blu-ray, which is a little bit annoying, I think. Apart from that, everything else is just great. So if I was giving it a ranking, I'd probably give it a 9 out of 10, I think. And I'm sorry this video has been so long, but I did say it was a deep dive, and a deep dive it has been. So thank you very much for joining me for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you've stuck it out to the end, congratulations, you've done really well, because it is a bit long. But I really do appreciate you being here and supporting the channel. Now, if you like what we do here and you haven't yet subscribed, please consider subscribing and supporting the channel. All you got to do is hit the button over there somewhere, and that would be absolutely fantastic. Please give the video a like and hit that notification bell, and you won't miss a thing. And guys, as always, I'd love to hear your comments either about the video or about the box set. Do tell me what you think. You know, I read everything and I answer everything, so it'd be great to hear from you. Now, on my next video, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I don't often do a video of where I just show you stuff, but the next video is going to be a Paul McCartney coloured vinyl special. So please join me for that video. I think you'll really enjoy that video. I've got lots of coloured vinyl to show you, and none of them will be McCartney 3. Well, one of them might be. Just a reminder that if you do want to watch the review of the Imagine album, the track by track ranking and discussion video that I did a few months ago, then there should be an end card coming up about now around here somewhere, and you can just click on that and watch it. Anyway, I will see you very soon for the next video. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.